$10 million. This changes everything for my family. Tyson Bagent's voice catches at the mic. The room goes quiet. Cameras click. A clip flies across social feeds with a wild claim. He chose $50,000 over $10 million. People argue in the comments. Some call him reckless. Others call him a hero. Meanwhile, he's still wiping his eyes. Here's the truth. Bagent, an undrafted quarterback from Shepherd University, had just signed a 2-year, $10 million extension. No rejection, no $50,000 gamble. To understand why that moment hit so hard, we need to go back before league minimums, before guarantees, before the spotlight. At the actual press conference, the facts were clear. He'd signed a 2-year, $10 million extension. On camera, the relief was visible. He thanked the organization. He thanked his family. He talked about the weight lifting off his shoulders. For a kid from Martinsburg, West Virginia, that wasn't performative. It was lived experience, surfacing in real time. The viral misread started with a snippet. A young backup quarterback gets emotional, mentions money, mentions home, and the internet fills in the rest. The line morphs into a folktale. He turned down millions for $50,000. It sticks because it's cinematic, it's simple, and it's wrong. He told a story that hit a nerve. His father, his right-hand man, didn't have running water until high school. That detail wasn't a soundbite. It was a shorthand for generational scarcity. It explains why this wasn't just a contract. It was a margin of safety his family had never known. The path to that mic started in obscurity. Shepherd University. Division II film that scouts question on site. Undrafted. Rookie mini-camp invite. Camp cuts looming. Quarterback rooms are crowded, political, and unforgiving. Every rep is an audition. Every mistake is a reason to move on. The stakes were always bigger than a depth chart. In small towns like Martinsburg, the distance between getting by and going under is thin. A blown transmission, a medical bill, a slow month at work, any one of them can sink a season. So when an undrafted quarterback talks about sleeping different after a deal, it lands. Not because of luxury, but because of stability. Backup economics are fragile. League minimums look big on paper, but they're temporary. Contracts are often non-guaranteed. Practice squad players earn weekly, can be cut weekly, and bounce between cities with a suitcase and a tablet. Even on the 53, being inactive on Sunday can mean money left on the table. You're one coach's meeting away from a flight home. So at the mic, with ink drying on a 2-year, $10 million extension, the emotion wasn't confusion, it was acknowledgement. Years of scarcity meeting the first real security. The myth sold a dramatic refusal. The moment was a hard-earned arrival. Meanwhile, something else was happening off camera. Trust. Coaches noticed he absorbed the playbook. Teammates noticed he didn't force throws. When he finally got spot snaps, he protected the ball. That changed leverage. Not into superstardom, but into stability. That's why the $50,000 versus $10 million narrative appealed. It pretended agency where there usually isn't any. It sold a fantasy of choice. The real decision started years earlier, choosing to bet on a D2 arm against an NFL machine that chews up long shots. Saying yes to meetings, to scout team reps, to mornings where your name isn't on a jersey in the team store. To understand why the contract hit like oxygen, go back to the quiet tape room at Shepherd Division II. Small stadiums, smaller budgets, and film that scouts watch with one eyebrow raised. The knock is always the same. What about the competition level? Can those windows translate to Sundays? That's the backdrop he carried into every visit, every interview, every rep that felt like a referendum. The UDFA deal is a bet with thin chips. A small signing bonus if you're lucky. Camp invite terms spelled out like policy language. No guarantees. You earn Tuesday, you earn Wednesday. And even if you stand out, a numbers squeeze can erase you in a 5-minute meeting. That's the reality he walked into. Clipboard in hand, scheme in head, zero promises. Draft weekend for most undrafted guys is a long ringless phone. You sit near the charger anyway, just in case the text groups go quiet. Picks roll by. The highlight reels from bigger programs keep looping on TV. When the 7th round ends, the scramble begins. Coaches call, scouts call, agents weigh camp depth charts. The math is cold. Where can you actually take snaps? Where isn't the room already spoken for? There's a micro moment you don't forget. The day he learned he made the 53, he texted his dad 2 words, "We did." Not "I did." Not a celebration selfie, just a confirmation that the long, quiet grind turned into a roster spot. For a quarterback, that's not just validation, it's an open door to learning real speed, real disguises, real consequences. Trust builds in small rooms. Quarterback installs at 6 a.m., scout team periods that look like drudgery unless coaches see footwork, timing, restraint. He kept stacking quiet wins, knowing the call sheet, hitting the flat when the shot wasn't there, owning mistakes in front of the room. When spot duty came, he didn't chase a hero throw. He managed, protected, bought time. That doesn't trend on social, but it moves you from expendable to useful. And even then, the ladder's greased. Practice squad money pays weekly and stops weekly. Active roster money looks big until you miss a Sunday. QB2 economics are a constant audition. You're one injury away from exposure, one bad quarter away from the bubble. You study like a starter and live like you're temporary, because you might be. What does a 2-year, $10 million deal likely mean? Think of it as a stack, not a lump. A signing bonus paid out quickly, spread on the team's cap, base salaries that jump year over year. Per game active bonuses paid only if he dresses, incentives for playing time, team performance, maybe even passer rating tiers. Some guarantees are firm, signing bonus, a portion of year 1 base. Others vest if he's on the roster on a specific date. It's protection against uncertainty more than a windfall baked in stone. Then shave the headline, federal taxes, state taxes depending on where he plays and where the checks are earned. The so-called jock tax in each road city, agent fees in the standard 1-3% range, off-season escrow, insurance policies that smart veterans carry. The number on social becomes a smaller, still life-changing number on a bank screen. A season like that shifts leverage, not into fireworks, but into conversations that include terms like partial guarantees and per-game actives. Agents arrive with comps. Here's what similar backups got. Here's where upside is priced. Here's where risk lives. Teams counter with prudence. Small signing bonus, base salaries that assume you're QB2, incentives if you start and win, escalators if you hit snap thresholds. None of it is promised unless it's guaranteed language on paper. But the value isn't just net dollars, it's runway, the ability to train without panic, the ability to tell your parents the rent is covered, the ability to breathe through a 2-pick practice because you aren't walking the plank that afternoon. That's why the emotion at the mic mattered. It wasn't a fairy tale refusal, it was the culmination of a high-wire act, where one misstep could have sent him home. And there's a deeper truth people miss. Most undrafted quarterbacks never get to the leverage table. They live in the maybe. He turned the maybe into a signature, not because of one viral throw, but because he made 1,000 small correct decisions when nobody was watching. That's the thin margin that turned a D2 film reel into a contract that could reshape a family's stress level. The first thing he talked about wasn't cars or watches. It was his dad, his right-hand man, the early rides, the workouts in half-lit gyms, the weekend sacrifice to 7-on-7 fields, and long drives back through West Virginia. Those were the real investors. When he says the weight is off, he's talking about paying back time you can't actually repay. Picture a quiet weekday back home. No cameras, a short line at a local bank. He sits with a manager who recognizes the last name. They open accounts, set up automatic transfers, maybe a small trust, maybe a college fund for a younger sibling. It's not a victory lap, it's housekeeping for the life his family hasn't had the space to organize. And then the guardrails, backups live with career fragility. You plan like the next snap could be your last snap. That means conservative moves, staggered investments, cash reserves, low burn rate, no big guaranteed income beyond what's actually guaranteed. You avoid locking into high fixed costs that outlast the contract. The quiet goal is optionality, enough cushion to make the next right decision without desperation pushing the pin. Financial priorities look simple but matter. Pay off debts that charge double-digit interest. Lock in stable housing so nobody has to call a landlord in a panic. Put a real health insurance buffer in place. Build an emergency fund that turns a blown transmission from a crisis into an inconvenience. For a family that once worried about running water, these aren't luxuries. They're exits off the anxiety highway. The myth said he walked away from $10 million for $50,000. The truth is cleaner and heavier. He accepted responsibility. He bought his family margin. He gave his hometown a new path to point at when the conversation turns to what's possible. He didn't reinvent the math. He respected it, and he used it to move people he loves out of the blast radius of bad luck. Martinsburg feels this in ripples. Pride first. The local paper runs the story. Kids at the high school stop him for photos when he visits, but the meaningful stuff is smaller and steadier. Youth camps that don't cost a paycheck, a scholarship through the Booster Club, a handful of local jobs tied to programs he funds. A weight room gets a facelift. A school nurse gets an extra budget line for supplies. None of it is flashy. All of it compounds. Legacy, in this frame, isn't a statue. It's a blueprint. Undrafted to multi-year earner. Not linear, not glamorous, but proof that stacking reliable decisions can still build wealth. It tells the next kid at a small program that the road is narrow but real. Know your playbook. Protect the ball, be the person a staff can trust. Save, share, keep the overhead low. Stretch the runway,